Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.
A retired colonel says his career took him from leading National Guard soldiers in Kansas to the buildup of the first Gulf War.
Gwen Bevel and photojournalist Nick Kiefer show us what inspired this soldier to serve for decades.
Before John Buckley deployed for the first time, he was anxious to see if his skills would hold up in combat. He now looks back on that and thinks how foolish. He says he knows now war is extremely complex and dangerous. For Cadet John Buckley, it all started at the New Mexico Military Institute. After college, it was off to the Kansas National Guard.
Gary was my mentor.
In Buckley's second year, Gary Wofford offered up some advice on how he was acting as a platoon leader.
He came up to me and found me and said, "Okay, what are you doing? Is this okay? Are people doing what they need to do?" And I said, "Yes." And he said, "You've got 28 other men out here who need your leadership."
Buckley says that's always stayed with him.
This was my first company.
As a young captain, Buckley deployed with the 101st, one of the first into Operation Desert Shield. He also spent time with the Big Red One.
The historical significance of the Big Red One to me was amazing to be there.
He says every soldier made it back from the desert.
It was something that was very humbling to be able to lead the young men and women of this nation.
Both in combat.
There's a lot of burden, a lot of responsibilities to make sure that you take care of them.
And in peacekeeping operations in Bosnia.
Although not combat, it was just as dangerous and just as difficult, so I really approach it in a different way.
Buckley led the first combat unit into Bosnia and was later handpicked to go back to Iraq to help train an Iraqi combat arms unit.
We had the opportunity to really influence them on how a military unit should support a democracy.
He earned this Army Accommodation Medal while in Iraq and many others along the way. The most significant to him, the Legion of Merit.
So it was indication of how well I performed in my military service for the duration.
Buckley was also awarded beyond the Army at one time by this Navy admiral.
To have somebody from a different service give you a medal was very unique and very rewarding as well.
He says the most rewarding, though, was the ability to lead.
I mean, this is my promotion to the rank of colonel.
His wife and kids were all there.
You're a part of this, I think, was probably one of the best things about that day.
He says his family made many sacrifices during his 33 years of service.
When I first retired, I think I had a difficult time making that transition, as many veterans do.
Buckley says he became aware of how many veterans were taking their own lives.
I thought that I could maybe share the things that I learned in my day-to-day work with other companies in the area. So I stepped up with a couple of other volunteers and we created what we call the Veteran Advocacy Board.
The mission is to find veterans jobs. He's also involved with passageways, helping vets who are homeless or near homeless. Buckley says both organizations are offering our nation's heroes far more than employment and a place to call home.
It's giving them their integrity back, giving them their self-worth back.
Buckley says he will always remember what he learned very early on in his military career. Mission first, soldiers always. Buckley says he remembers when his son was just 3 or 4 and his same mentor, Gary Wofford, would put his son on a popcorn tin and would coach and mentor him. The Buckleys just recently found out the same son will be commissioned in May before he heads to the Army to serve as an infantryman. Here for you, Gwen Bevel, KSN News 3.
On behalf of Devon James Injury Lawyers, we're honored to recognize this week's Veteran of the Week, retired Colonel John Buckley.
Colonel Buckley has served our country in times of combat and continues to serve through passageways. He could not be here today, but he sends this message.
On behalf of Devon James, I'm going to take their gift and I'm going to present it to passageways in their endeavor to reduce and possibly eliminate veteran homelessness in the community.
Veteran Salute is sponsored by the Devon James Injury Lawyers.